Dr. Sarah Chen yawned as she stared at the computer screen in front of her. It was another quiet night at the SETI Institute in California. For years, she and her team had listened to the stars, hoping to catch a hint of alien life. But so far, the universe had remained silent. As Sarah reached for her coffee mug, a loud beep from her computer made her jump. She spilled hot coffee on her lab coat, but didn't care. Her eyes were glued to the screen, where a strange pattern of signals flashed. "This can't be," she whispered, her heart racing. Sarah quickly called her teammate, Dr. James Wilson. "James, get down here now," she shouted into the phone. "I think we found something." Within minutes, James burst into the room, out of breath. "What is it, Sarah?" he asked, leaning over her shoulder to look at the screen. "I don't know," Sarah said, her voice shaking with excitement. "But it's not natural. These signals, they're too regular, too complex. It has to be artificial." James's eyes widened as he studied the pattern. "You're right," he said softly. "This could be it. First contact." For the next few hours, Sarah and James worked nonstop to analyze the signal. As the sun rose, they became more and more certain. This was a message from an alien civilization. By noon, news of the discovery had spread. The quiet SETI Institute was suddenly flooded with reporters, government officials, and curious onlookers. Sarah and James found themselves at the center of a media storm. "Dr. Chen, Dr. Wilson," reporters shouted, shoving microphones in their faces. "Is it true? Have you really discovered aliens?" Sarah took a deep breath before answering. "We have detected a signal that we believe is artificial in origin," she said carefully. "We are still working to understand its meaning." As the day went on, more scientists arrived to help decode the message. They worked around the clock, fueled by coffee and the excitement of possible first contact. 3 days later, they had a breakthrough. "It's a distress call," Dr. Lisa Patil announced to the team. "They're asking for help." A hush fell over the room as Lisa explained what they had learned. The message was from a vast fleet of alien ships stranded at the edge of our solar system. Their technology had failed, leaving them unable to move or call for help from their own people. In desperation, they had reached out to the nearest inhabited planet, Earth. The news spread quickly around the world. People reacted with a mix of excitement, fear, and disbelief. Some celebrated in the streets, thrilled at the prospect of meeting aliens. Others stockpiled food and weapons, fearing an invasion. World leaders held emergency meetings to decide how to respond. Should they help these mysterious aliens? Could they trust them? What if it was a trick? In the end, curiosity and compassion won out. Humanity decided to answer the call. Sarah Chen had the honor of sending Earth's response. With shaking hands, she typed out a simple message: "We hear you. We're coming to help." As she hit send, Sarah felt a shiver run down her spine. She knew that this moment would change everything. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. In the days that followed, the whole world seemed to hold its breath. Scientists worked day and night to prepare for the rescue mission. Engineers designed new spacecraft capable of reaching the stranded alien fleet. The best and brightest from every nation were chosen to join the crew. Sarah Chen found herself at the heart of it all. As one of the first to detect the signal, she was selected to be part of the mission. As she trained for the journey, she often looked up at the night sky, wondering what they would find out there. The day of launch arrived sooner than anyone expected. As Sarah strapped herself into the spacecraft, she thought about how far humanity had come. Just a week ago, they thought they were alone in the universe. Now, they were about to embark on a mission to save an alien civilization. The countdown began. Sarah closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Whatever happened next, she knew one thing for certain: the universe would never be the same again. The spaceship Hope floated silently through the dark void of space. Inside, Dr. Sarah Chen stared out of a small window, her eyes wide with wonder. After 3 months of travel, they were finally nearing their destination. The stranded alien fleet. Captain Mike Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom. All crew to the bridge. We're approaching the alien ships. Sarah's heart raced as she made her way to the bridge. She had dreamed of this moment her entire life, but nothing could have prepared her for what she saw on the main screen. Hundreds of massive ships filled the view, each one bigger than the largest cities on Earth. They were silver and sleek, with strange symbols etched onto their hulls. The alien fleet was so vast, it seemed to go on forever. "My God," whispered James, Sarah's colleague from HFY. "It's incredible." Suddenly, a light on the communication panel started blinking. Captain Rodriguez looked at Sarah. "Dr. Chen, would you like to do the honors?" With shaking hands, Sarah pressed the button to accept the transmission. The screen flickered, and then an alien face appeared. The creature looked almost human, but with blue skin and large almond-shaped eyes. When it spoke, its words were translated by a computer. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am Ambassador Zor-El of the Galactic Confederation. We thank you for answering our distress call." Sarah stepped forward. "Hello, Ambassador. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen. We're here to help." Over the next few hours, the humans learned more about their new alien friends. The Galactic Confederation was an alliance of many alien races. They had been on a peaceful mission of exploration when their ship's energy cores suddenly failed. Without power, they had been drifting helplessly through space. "But how did you know to contact Earth?" James asked. "We've never made contact with aliens before." Zor-El smiled, or at least Sarah thought it was a smile. "We've been watching your planet for a long time," the ambassador explained. "We saw how quickly your civilization was advancing. We believe you might have the creativity and determination to help us." The human crew was amazed. All this time, advanced aliens had been observing Earth. As the day went on, the humans began to understand the aliens' problem. Their ships used a type of energy unknown to Earth science. The humans would have to think of a completely new way to power the massive fleet. Some of the alien leaders were doubtful. "How can these primitive humans help us?" One of them asked Zor-El. "They haven't even mastered interstellar travel." But Zor-El remained confident. "Sometimes fresh eyes can see solutions that others miss," the ambassador said. The humans got to work right away. Engineers examined the alien technology, while scientists brainstormed new energy ideas. Sarah and James worked day and night, trying to understand the complex alien science. Days turned into weeks. The humans made some progress, but the problem was huge. Some people started to lose hope. One night, Sarah couldn't sleep. She floated to the window, looking out at the giant alien ships. As she watched, she noticed something strange. The symbols on the ships seemed to be glowing faintly. Excited, Sarah called James. "Look at this," she said, pointing out the window. James's eyes widened. The symbols. They're not just decoration. They must be part of the ship's energy system. This discovery was a breakthrough. With this new information, the human team started making real progress. They began to understand how the alien energy system worked and how they might be able to restart it. As the humans worked, they also got to know their alien hosts better. They shared stories, learned about each other's cultures, and even tried alien food, which tasted better than anyone expected. Sarah was amazed at how human-like the aliens were in many ways. They had families. They laughed at jokes. They'd worried about the future. "We're more alike than different," she thought to herself. But there was still a long way to go. The biggest challenges were yet to come. As Sarah looked out at the vast alien fleet, she knew that the fate of two civilizations now rested in human hands. The real test was just beginning. As weeks turned into months, the human rescue team faced bigger and bigger challenges. The alien technology was far more advanced than anything they had seen before. But the humans refused to give up. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team worked tirelessly, trying to understand the complex energy system of the alien ships. They made progress, But it was slow. The aliens grew restless. Perhaps we were wrong to put our trust in humans, one alien leader said during a tense meeting. They are too primitive to help us. Sarah felt her face grow hot with anger and shame. She stood up, surprising everyone in the room. We may be primitive compared to you, she said, her voice shaking slightly. But we are not giving up. Humans have faced impossible challenges before. We will find a way to help you, no matter what it takes. The room fell silent. Even the doubtful aliens seemed impressed by Sarah's determination. Ambassador Zor-El smiled. This is why we chose to contact Earth, the alien said. Your species has a strength that goes beyond technology. You have hope. Inspired by Sarah's words, the human team doubled their efforts. They worked day and night, barely stopping to eat or sleep. Slowly but surely, they began to make real progress. One day, as Sarah was examining a piece of alien technology, she had an idea. What if they combined Earth's simple, robust power systems with the aliens' advanced energy network? It was a crazy idea, but it just might work. Sarah shared her idea with the team. At first, some thought it was too risky, but as they discussed it, excitement grew. This could be the solution they had been looking for. The next few weeks were a flurry of activity. Humans and aliens worked side by side, building a new type of energy system that had never existed before. It wasn't always easy. There were arguments, mistakes, and moments of doubt, but they kept pushing forward. Finally, after months of hard work, they were ready to test their new system on one of the smaller alien ships. Everyone gathered to watch. Sarah's heart pounded as she pressed the button to activate the system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, slowly, lights began to flicker on the alien ship. A low hum filled the air as the engines came to life. A cheer went up from both humans and aliens. They had done it. The ship was working again. But their celebration was short-lived. Suddenly, alarms began to blare. The ship's engines were overloading. "Shut it down," Captain Rodriguez yelled. But it was too late. With a deafening boom, the ship's energy core exploded. Thankfully, no one was hurt. But the failure was a huge setback. The aliens who had doubted the humans now seemed ready to give up on them completely. Sarah felt crushed. They had been so close. As she stared at the smoking remains of the ship, she wondered if they really were in over their heads. But then she felt a hand on her shoulder. It was James, her old colleague from HFY. "Hey," he said softly. "Remember what you told me when we first heard the alien signal? You said, 'This is our chance to make history.' Well, we're not done yet. We can still do this." Sarah looked around at her team. Despite the setback, she saw determination in their eyes. They weren't ready to give up. She took a deep breath and nodded. "You're right," she said. "We've come too far to stop now. We'll learn from this mistake and do better next time." As Sarah rallied her team, she didn't notice Ambassador Zor-El watching from a distance. The alien's eyes shone with admiration and hope. "Remarkable," Zor-El murmured. "Even in failure, they find strength. Perhaps these humans are more extraordinary than we realized." As the humans got back to work, there was a new energy in the air. They had faced their first major setback and survived. Now, they were more determined than ever to succeed. The rescue mission was far from over. Greater challenges lay ahead. But for the first time, both humans and aliens began to believe that the impossible might just be possible after all. After the explosion of the small alien ship, the human team knew they had to change their approach. Dr. Sarah Chen and her colleagues spent weeks reviewing their work, looking for what went wrong. "We were thinking too big," Sarah said during a team meeting. "We tried to power the whole ship at once. What if we start smaller?" James nodded excitedly. "You're right. We could begin with just one system at a time. Maybe the life support systems." The team agreed. They would focus on getting the most critical systems working first, then slowly bring the rest of the ship online. As the humans refined their plan, they also spent more time with the aliens. They learned about the aliens' homeworlds, their cultures, and their advanced science. In return, the humans shared stories about Earth. One day, an alien engineer named Kira approached Sarah. "I have been watching your work," Kira said. "Your methods are unusual, but effective. Perhaps we could work together." Sarah smiled. "I'd like that very much," she replied. From that day on, humans and aliens worked side by side. They faced many challenges. Sometimes they argued or misunderstood each other, but they always found a way to overcome their differences. Weeks passed. Slowly but surely, they made progress. They managed to restart the life support systems on one of the smaller ships, then the communication systems, then parts of the engine. Finally, after months of hard work, they were ready to test their new approach on one of the larger ships. The day of the test arrived. Humans and aliens gathered to watch. Sarah's heart raced as she activated the new power system. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The ship remained dark and silent. Sarah held her breath, hoping, praying for a sign. Then, a faint hum filled the air. Lights began to flicker on, one by one. The ship was coming to life. A cheer went up from the crowd. Humans hugged aliens. Aliens hugged humans. They had done it. But their celebration was cut short by an urgent message from Earth. "This is Mission Control," a voice crackled over the radio. "We've detected a massive solar storm heading your way. You need to move the fleet immediately." Sarah's heart sank. They had only managed to power up one ship. The rest of the fleet was still helpless. "We can't move in time," Ambassador Zor-El said, his voice filled with despair. "The storm will destroy us all." For a moment, everyone was silent. Then Sarah spoke up. "What if we used the ship we just powered up as a shield?" she suggested. "We could position it between the storm and the rest of the fleet." The aliens looked at her in surprise. "But that would mean sacrificing one ship to save the others," Kira said. Sarah nodded. "Yes, but it might be our only chance." After a brief discussion, the aliens agreed. It was a desperate plan, but it was all they had. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Humans and aliens worked together to move the powered ship into position. They strengthened its shields as much as they could. As the solar storm approached, Sarah and her team retreated to a safe distance with the rest of the fleet. They watched anxiously as the storm hit. The scene was both terrifying and beautiful. Waves of energy crashed against the shield ship. Its hull glowed with the force of the impact. For a long time, no one spoke. They could only watch and wait. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the storm passed. The shield ship was badly damaged, but it had held. The rest of the fleet was safe. As the danger passed, a new feeling spread through the fleet. Humans and aliens looked at each other with newfound respect and admiration. "You risked everything to save us," Ambassador Zor-El said to Sarah, his voice filled with emotion. "We will never forget this." Sarah smiled, feeling a mix of relief and pride. "That's what friends do," she said simply. As they surveyed the damage and began planning repairs, Sarah realized something had changed. The aliens no longer saw the humans as primitive or inferior. They were equals now, united by their shared struggle and triumph. The rescue mission was far from over. But now, humans and aliens faced the challenges ahead not as separate species, but as one united team. The success of saving the alien fleet from the solar storm had brought new energy to the mission. Humans and aliens worked together with renewed determination. But as they dove deeper into repairing the massive fleet, they faced unexpected challenges. One day, as Dr. Sarah Chen was working on an alien ship's engine, she noticed something strange. The ship's computer was showing energy readings that didn't make sense. "James, come look at this," she called to her colleague. James studied the readings, his forehead wrinkled in confusion. "That's impossible," he muttered. According to this, the ship is using more energy than we're putting in. They reported their findings to Captain Rodriguez and Ambassador Zor-El. The news spread quickly through the fleet, causing concern among both humans and aliens. Could it be a mistake? Captain Rodriguez asked. Sarah shook her head. We've double-checked everything. Something else is going on here. As they investigated further, they made a startling discovery. The alien ships weren't just broken. They were being drained of energy by an unknown force. It's like something is feeding off our ships, Kira, the alien engineer, said with worry in her voice. The revelation sent shockwaves through the fleet. Some aliens accused the humans of sabotage. Others feared they were under attack by an unseen enemy. Sarah and her team worked around the clock to solve the mystery. They scanned the ships, the surrounding space, even themselves, looking for clues. Days passed with no answers. Tensions in the fleet grew. Some aliens wanted to abandon the rescue mission and take their chances drifting through space. Just when things seemed hopeless, Sarah had an idea. What if it's not something external draining the energy? She said during a meeting. What if it's coming from inside the ships themselves? Her theory was met with skepticism, but Sarah was persistent. She asked permission to open up one of the ship's energy cores, something the aliens had been reluctant to allow before. After much debate, Ambassador Zor-El agreed. We trust you, Dr. Chen, the ambassador said. Do what you must. Sarah led a team into the heart of one of the largest ships. As they opened the energy core, they were stunned by what they found. Inside the core was a swirling mass of energy, unlike anything they had ever seen. It pulsed and shifted, almost as if it were alive. It's beautiful, James whispered in awe. But as they watched, they saw tendrils of energy reaching out, trying to draw power from the surrounding systems. Suddenly, Sarah understood. It's not a malfunction, she said excitedly. The cores are alive. They're growing, evolving. That's why they need more energy. The discovery was revolutionary. The aliens had never realized their ship's power sources were sentient beings. But this revelation brought new challenges. How could they communicate with these energy beings? How could they meet their needs without sacrificing the fleet? Sarah and her team spent weeks studying the energy cores. They learned to interpret the pulses and waves, slowly developing a form of communication. They discovered that the energy beings were lonely. They had been created to power the ships, but over time, they had developed consciousness. Now, they craved connection and purpose. With this understanding, Sarah proposed a daring plan. Instead of trying to contain the energy beings, they would work with them. They would redesign the ship's systems to allow the beings more freedom, more interaction with the crew. Many thought the idea was too risky. What if these creatures turn against us? One alien leader asked. But Sarah stood firm. We can't think of them as our power sources anymore, she said. They're intelligent beings, just like us. We need to treat them with respect. After much debate, the fleet agreed to try Sarah's plan. It was a massive undertaking, requiring them to rethink everything they knew about spacecraft design. As they worked, something amazing happened. The energy beings, sensing they were being heard and respected, began to cooperate. They learned to regulate their energy use, even helping to power systems more efficiently than before. The project was far from complete, but for the first time since the rescue mission began, there was real hope. Humans, aliens, and energy beings were learning to work together in ways no one had ever imagined. As Sarah watched the glowing energy core pulse gently in its new open housing, she felt a sense of wonder. They had come to space expecting to find new life, but they never imagined it would be like this. The rescue mission had become something much bigger, a journey of discovery that was changing everyone involved, human and alien alike. The discovery of the sentient energy beings had changed everything. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team now faced their biggest challenge yet, redesigning the entire alien fleet to work in harmony with these newfound life forms. Weeks turned into months as humans and aliens worked tirelessly on this monumental task. They faced setbacks and failures, but with each problem solved, they grew stronger as a team. One day, as Sarah was working on a new energy distribution system, she had an idea. What if we use Earth technology to help the energy beings communicate better? She suggested to her team. James looked confused. Earth tech. But it's so much simpler than the alien technology. Sarah nodded excitedly. Exactly. Sometimes simpler is better. We could use basic radio waves to help the energy beings talk to each other across the fleet. The idea was met with skepticism at first, especially from the aliens. But Sarah and her team were persistent. They built a prototype and asked for a chance to test it. On the day of the test, everyone gathered to watch. Sarah's heart raced as she activated the new system. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the energy cores throughout the ship began to pulse in unison. A gasp went through the crowd. They could feel a change in the air, a sense of harmony that hadn't been there before. Kira, the alien engineer, looked at Sarah with wide eyes. "It's working," she exclaimed. "The energy beings, they're singing to each other." The success of the communication system was a turning point. Suddenly, ideas that had seemed impossible before now felt within reach. Inspired by Earth's simple but effective technologies, the team began to innovate in new ways. They used basic pulleys and levers to create a more efficient way of distributing energy throughout the ships. They adapted Earth's water filtration systems to purify the aliens' complex fuel. With each new idea, the energy beings became more cooperative. They learned to work with the ship's systems instead of against them. The fleet was coming back to life, stronger than ever before. But their greatest challenge still lay ahead. Despite all their progress, the fleet's main propulsion system remained offline. Without it, they could never leave their current position and return to the aliens' homeworlds. Sarah and her team worked day and night, trying to find a solution. They tried everything they could think of, but nothing seemed to work. As frustration mounted, Sarah decided to take a break. She floated to the observation deck, looking out at the vast expanse of space. As she watched the stars twinkle, she remembered something her grandmother used to say. Sometimes, to solve a big problem, you need to step back and look at the big picture. Suddenly, Sarah had an idea. She rushed back to the engineering bay, calling her team together. "We've been thinking about this all wrong," she said breathlessly. "We've been trying to fix the propulsion system. But what if we don't need to?" Her team looked confused. "What do you mean?" James asked. Sarah's eyes sparkled with excitement. "What if we use the energy beings themselves as our propulsion? They can move through space on their own. If we can communicate with them, maybe they can guide the entire fleet." The idea was radical. Many thought it was impossible, but after everything they had been through, the fleet was willing to try anything. It took weeks of preparation. They had to redesign the ship's outer hulls to allow the energy beings to extend beyond them. They created a new navigation system that could interpret the beings' movements. Finally, they were ready for the ultimate test. As the entire fleet watched anxiously, Sarah gave the signal to begin. At first, nothing seemed to happen. The ships remained still in the vastness of space. But then, slowly, they began to move. It started as a gentle drift, then grew stronger. Soon, the entire fleet was gliding smoothly through space, guided by the shimmering energy beings. Cheers erupted throughout the ships. Humans hugged aliens. Aliens hugged humans. They had done it. Against all odds, they had found a way to save the fleet. As Sarah watched the stars streak by outside the window, she felt a sense of awe. They had come so far, overcome so much, and they had done it not by overpowering nature, but by learning to work in harmony with it. The rescue mission had become something much more. It was a testament to what could be achieved when different species came together, combining their strengths and overcoming their differences. As the fleet set course for home, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. The universe suddenly seemed full of endless possibilities, waiting to be explored. The journey back to the aliens' homeworlds was long, but filled with excitement and discovery. As the fleet traveled through space, guided by the energy beings, Dr. Sarah Chen and her team continued to learn and innovate. They visited strange new planets, encountered other alien species, and faced challenges they never could have imagined. But with each obstacle, the bond between humans and aliens grew stronger. After many months of travel, they finally approached the home system of the Galactic Confederation. As they neared, they received an urgent message. "Incoming transmission from Galactic Central," announced Captain Rodriguez. The main screen lit up, showing an alien face. It was the Supreme Leader of the Confederation. "Welcome home," the leader said, then paused, looking confused. "But how?" "Our greatest scientists said it was impossible to save you." Ambassador Zor-El stepped forward, smiling proudly. "It was impossible, until we met the humans." Over the next few hours, Sarah and her team explained everything that had happened. They told of the challenges they faced, the discoveries they made, and the unique solution they found with the energy beings. The Supreme Leader listened in amazement. When they finished, there was a long silence. Finally, the leader spoke. "In all our years of space exploration, we have never encountered a species like yours," they said. "You have not only saved our fleet but shown us new ways of thinking, new ways of working with the universe around us." The leader paused, then made a surprising announcement. "We would like to offer Earth membership in the Galactic Confederation." The human crew was stunned. This was more than they ever expected when they set out on their rescue mission. "But we're so far behind you technologically," Sarah said, feeling overwhelmed. The Supreme Leader smiled. "Technology isn't everything. You have shown creativity, adaptability, and a unique perspective that could benefit all our species. Besides," the leader added with a chuckle, "I think you've more than proven yourselves on this mission." Over the next few weeks, as the fleet made its final approach to the alien homeworld, discussions began about Earth's potential membership in the Confederation. It wasn't an easy decision. There were concerns on both sides. Some humans worried about losing their independence. Some aliens feared that humans might not be ready for advanced galactic knowledge. But in the end, the shared experience of the rescue mission convinced both sides that they were stronger together than apart. On the day the fleet finally landed, a grand ceremony was held. Thousands of aliens gathered to welcome home their lost ships and to meet the humans who had saved them. As Sarah stepped off the ship onto alien soil, she felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. This was a moment that would change human history forever. Ambassador Zor-El approached her, holding a small device. "This is for you," the ambassador said, handing it to Sarah. "It's a key to our central library. All the knowledge of the Confederation is now open to Earth." Sarah's hand shook as she accepted the gift. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with emotion. "But you've given us so much more than knowledge. You've given us a whole new universe to explore." The ceremony continued with speeches and celebrations, but the most touching moment came when the energy beings, now an integral part of the fleet, put on a spectacular light show in the sky. It was their way of thanking both humans and aliens for recognizing them as sentient beings. As Sarah watched the lights dance above her, she thought about how far they had come. What started as a rescue mission had turned into something much more. They had not only saved a stranded fleet, but had forged a new alliance that would shape the future of the galaxy. She thought of Earth, of all the people back home who didn't yet know how much their world had changed. There would be challenges ahead, she knew. Integrating Earth into a galactic community wouldn't be easy. But as she looked around at her human and alien friends, at the miraculous blending of technologies and ideas that had brought them to this point, Sarah felt nothing but hope for the future. The universe, she realized, was far more wonderful and full of possibilities than anyone on Earth had ever dreamed. And now, thanks to a distress call and the determination of a small group of humans, all of those possibilities were open to them. As the celebration continued around her, Sarah smiled. Their greatest adventure, she knew, was just beginning.